Hey everybody, this is the Fear from No Love Lost 2.0, and today we unpack uncomfortable truths about transformation, the friendships that fade, the habits that had to die, and the version of you that couldn't survive to the next level. Who did you have to lose to become who you are now? And are you brave enough to keep evolving? This isn't about glow ups, it's about growing up. Everybody claps for the glow up. Nobody talks about the grief that comes with it. Nobody talks about losing friends you thought were forever. Nobody talks about becoming unrecognizable to people who only love the old you. So the real question is, who do you have to become to survive what you went through? So me and my friend Moses was having a conversation the other day about how do you as a person let trauma shape or form your life? And I was explaining to him, I said, well, trauma comes into play in everyone's life in some form or fashion, and people deal with it differently. And sometimes it's displayed in their relationships and how they communicate, how they raise their children, or even how they succeed or don't succeed in their personal life and professional life. So he says he doesn't really let trauma bother him. He doesn't let it get to him. He doesn't allow trauma to take over and implement in his life and take over to the point where he doesn't have control. I told him I don't fully agree, but I can understand if you're a nonchalant person that doesn't allow things to bother you. I understand that, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you need to do for yourself. But like I always say, that's a coping mechanism. You know, blocking out how you feel or blocking out situations in order not to deal with them or feel them is to not care about them. And that becomes easier to do the more you isolate yourself from the fact that you're not being open enough to have these conversations with people about how you truly feel. And this isn't about my friend, it's just about people in general. A lot of the times it's harder for us to sit up here and have these conversations because they make us uncomfortable, but not realizing by not having these conversations with people about how we are treated, how we are being respected, or how we move in our own lives with trauma, it does shape. I tell people everything doesn't always have to go back to trauma, but it definitely plays a role in how you maneuver and how you navigate your life. And as much as if you feel like you didn't have any trauma, that's a blessing. I'm not sitting here saying people need to be out here in these streets depressed, sad, and mad and going through shit and being raped and, being disrespected and domestic violence. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is the reality is that when you are in life, you will somewhere in life feel something traumatic. And that could be losing a parent, that could be losing a sibling, that could be losing a relationship, that could be losing a child, that could be anything in life where it will shape you either for life or it will shape you and make you better. It's two things it could do. It could do something positive, it could do something negative, or you can allow yourself to block it out. But either or, like I told my friend, I said, everything always comes back if you don't take care of it. If you don't handle things when you're supposed to, they'll find a way to come back in your life and play a role in another scene. So like I tell people, I said, there's nothing wrong with allowing yourself to have emotions. There's nothing wrong with allowing yourself to feel. But how do you navigate and what do you do with it? Do you let it shape you or do you build on it? I really do. I try to tell people loneliness is leveling up. It's the in between phase. It's not who you were, not fully who you're becoming. That's really what I try to explain to people. The discipline is of becoming. You have to be a person that understands isolation isn't punishment. Sometimes it's preparation. Sometimes you have to isolate yourself from certain people and situations to be the best version of yourself for yourself by yourself. And that sometimes goes back to trauma. Like a few of me and my friends, we've had trauma with our parents. Quite a lot of my friends have trauma with their parents. I feel like that is just normal. It's become normal because these are the people who are your caregiver, the first people who teach you how to love, the first people who teach you how to care and treat. And these people help shape your morals. Ultimately, as you become an adult, that's up to you to decide who you want to be and how you want to be. But you got to be honest here. Your parents shape a lot of how you see the world in the beginning. And that could be a good thing or that could be very bad. So I like I was telling my friend, I said, you say things don't bother you, but I know things that have happened in your life. I know, like for instance, one of my friends, her and her family was facing homelessness. Now, mind you, this is after high school, and it's not because of financial reasons where they couldn't pay, because it was like a house full of them. And it was a situation where the landlord didn't want to fix whatever he had to fix, so they had to move because he was evicting them. And my friend and her family, they end up buying a house, and they're all on the deed or whatever the case may be. But ultimately, they didn't let that situation be the defining moment for their family to break apart. They didn't allow that to be, okay, you know what, we're done. We're not gonna make it. I remember, I believe when I right after high school, I graduated high school, and my mom had a stroke that summer. I ended up going to live with my stepmom because I didn't want to live with my mom because one, I was in college, and not only that, it was just easier being at my stepmom's house, even though my dad wasn't with his wife anymore. It was just easier to remove myself from an environment that wasn't healthy. And I'm not talking about my mom's stroke, because even after my mom's stroke and after she came home and after all of that, and I was there, and I could tell you this, I could tell you it did not last very long because the environment was so unhealthy. It was so dangerous to my mental health that at one point it did shape how I facilitated conversations or how I loved in the beginning of becoming a young man. It definitely did. Because you know what? I was told I was loved by my mother. I was told I was cared for by my father when it came to finances. But I think what it came back to is the other traumatic experiences that I faced in my life and I've dealt with and felt. At the age of 7, I was raped by one of my mom's partners. And I talked about that before on my other podcast. And that was a traumatic situation for me. I remember every detail of how it happened, when it happened, and how it felt. And I'm 34 years old now. That happened around the age, I think, believe I was around 7. So I did not allow that situation to make me hypersexual or make me hate myself or make me become somebody that is not who I am now. I took that situation. I've always spoken about that situation publicly because I've always advocated for, victims to, get some type of justice if they can, you know? I've always advocated for people to not let the trauma be the defining moment on how they live the rest of their life. Don't give the power away. Trauma is something that happens to everybody, but what you do with it is up to you. Either you allow it to eat you alive or you allow yourself to grow, understand, and ultimately either be a teacher on how to help others or how to help yourself in whatever capacity that is. Healing does not mean that everything is 100% okay. It just means that you have taken the course to try to figure it out. That could be therapy, that can be conversation with family and friends or your partner. That can be just letting it out instead of allowing it to sit on your shoulder. A lot of the times people allow that trauma to sit on their shoulders and they wonder why they never feel like they can breathe in life. They never feel like they can reach their goals and achieve anything because they feel so heavy. But the heaviness comes from allowing yourself to be only what others believe you can be instead of moving forward. Don't let trauma be the defining moment on how you live your life. Don't let it affect every relationship. Every relationship doesn't mean a partner. It could be your friends. It could be your family. Don't let every traumatic experience or trauma be the defining moment that shapes the version of your life that you didn't even choose for yourself. If you're born with a twin or not, in this world, when you are born, you come out, you die, you've lived. And what it has to come down to is, did you live for you? Did you allow yourself enough grace to give yourself the energy and respect to realize that, you know what, you don't always have it right. You don't always have it together. But as long as you keep trying, there's the ability to change the outcome of your life. Don't allow trauma to be the sole basis on how you live, because then ultimately all you did was give in and you stayed the victim. I'm telling you, a lot of people are victims. A lot of people are monsters. But don't let victimhood become all you know. Don't let being the victim be the only thing that you're known for. Be victorious. Be valid in your feelings. Stand on what you say. And allow yourself to realize that your trauma does not define you. Make sure you continue to show love to No Love Lost 2.0. You can check my podcast out on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, as well as YouTube. Did I say Amazon? Because y'all can listen to my podcast on Amazon too. Make sure y'all continue to keep showing love. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, to my Facebook channel, to my Instagram, No Love Lost 2.0. My name is the same on all platforms. Now the hashtag, you could hashtag No Love Lost 2.0 or No Love Lost podcast. You will find this podcast right on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music, like I said before. Make sure you continue to show love to my page, and make sure you continue to put yourself first. And don't forget, it's one love. No Love Lost 2.0 is that